everyone. I'm Jackie White, and this is the E3 podcast. E3, some of you may not know, but E3 is a network of churches and pastors and leaders of businesses where we do just that. We try to develop our leadership skills and our pastoral skills, and it's all about just getting better so the kingdom of God can be advanced. Today, I'm really excited. I've got two special guests. I usually only have one at a time, but today I have a couple with me, Bob and Chrissy Godwin. Guys, it's so good to have you guys on the E3 podcast.
It's great.
I'm going to ask you to do something for us. Just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, I'll start, and if Chrissy wants to add a little bit to it, we can do that. Chrissy's originally from Lubbock. I'm more from Dallas area. We met each other going to Bible school, and but our life together has been revolved around ministry. And so we had served as youth pastors, associate pastors. Then we're senior pastors in the Dallas area. But for us, all through that period of time, we felt that just the development of a mission calling.
Yeah.
And so that kind of culminated in the early 90s and served in Mongolia for 20 years. And then the last 11 years in Estonia. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we tell them a little bit about kids and grands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do. We have 3 adult children and 7 grandchildren. So quick that has come, and what a joy. A joy to life, yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So y'all started your mission work in Mongolia for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So when did you, how long have you been in Estonia?
11 years.
11 years.
Just,
Yeah.
So over 30 years on the mission field and 2 separate assignments, that seems like a vast difference between Mongolia and Estonia. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There are some similarities. There are a couple of connectors.
Yeah.
So the Soviet influence was really probably the most significant. There are certain things that are just absolutely a part of both cultures because of that. But a different world. Mongolia is Buddhist. Estonia is secular, very secular, deeply secular. So so you have 2 different kind of environments, and a lot of differences that way.
Well, I've known you guys for years. Our listeners may not know this, but I was actually Chrissy's youth pastor when she was in high school. So I have a long-term relationship with you guys. And let me just say this to those that are listening. You guys are heroes in my eyes when it comes to missions and missionaries. It's not easy. I don't think the average person has any idea the difficulties that are faced on the mission field. So for that, I say thank you, and we're so grateful for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about something today. I want to talk about something in this podcast that I think is universal when it comes to the church world. And I want to talk about teams, building teams. Now, when I use the word teams, I'm talking primarily about putting a team together so that they can take over a ministry or serve in a particular ministry. We may have in the past called those departments or whatever, but teams is the word that we use now. And I think it's universal. I think we have to have teams here in the States. I think it's true around the world.
Absolutely.
Why are teams important when it comes to ministry? What do you guys think?
Why don't you start, and I'll follow you.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think about when we think of teams, certainly to be able to launch in and to do ministry, we need people to do that. And that you're finding people to be able to further the kingdom through those different areas. So it does in the local church, if it's children or if it's media or if it's communication, hospitality, but they actually facilitate the mission, which is helping people come to know Jesus. So every team wins when people come to know Jesus. So that structure and being able to work together in a structure helps that way. But one of the things that when I think about teams, it not only facilitates the ministry of the church, but it also empowers believers.
Yeah.
I believe that every believer is called and has a place to serve.
Yeah.
And it's through teams, building teams within the team. So we have media team, or we have children's team, whatever, hospitality. We have those teams, but within those teams, there should be teams of people, welcoming places where we welcome people on, so that everyone has an opportunity to be able to serve, love others, and encounter others, and those kinds of things. And so that's what it's really facilitating, is personal discipleship growth towards Jesus, but also the growth of the church.
Yeah. So when we talk about teams in a church setting, many times we're not talking about any paid staff. We're talking about using volunteers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Always,
Yeah.
One of the things I think just stands out super strong with the teams is that if teams are designed right, they're inclusive. This is not a group that just stays stagnant and just a group that never changes, but it's constantly changing, even in the local church. It should be, because it's the receiving group within the body that just keeps welcoming people who are gifted in specific ways. We even believe that people should serve on multiple teams because their giftings and expressions of their skills that God's given them that really bring just phenomenal, for us in our mind, blessing to anybody who becomes or connects to the body. So one of the things we really like are like connect teams. You know, it's kind of the outside reach, wherever, you know, it might be a group of guys that love riding bikes, but it's in there where it's inclusive. Anybody can be in there, and you may meet people who haven't really ever connected to a church family, but they are without realizing it. Right, and so they get the joy of seeing this is the church. These are believers, followers of Jesus. So there's a lot of different parts, and Chrissy mentioned discipleship. That's where we believe discipleship begins within the churches and those groups.
So good.
Well, and really even being able to welcome the whole idea of belonging before you believe.
Yeah.
So there are some places within the church we can welcome people to serve with us. Maybe they haven't really even come into a full revelation or commitment to Christ, but they're coming, and they're coming closer. There are places for them to serve with us, belong, as they're coming to know Christ.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do this. Let's define different teams that are needed in the local church. Okay, some churches are large, and they have maybe more teams than a smaller church, and certainly their teams may be more numerous. They may have more people in the team, but in the basic local church, there are certain teams that must be there. We need them. So do that with me.
Okay.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we've made a list, and I think we've come up with at least 26, 27.
Wow.
So, and that's just kind of a beginning picture of what a church plant might look like. No, obviously you're not going to have all of that right off.
Right.
But I would say priority is how you have a group that are really great at welcoming. So I know, like in Estonia, they don't want you to come and hug them. You know, they don't want somebody to come and be so excited, and but you have people who understand that. You know, they know how to welcome people and bring them into a context where there are people they don't know.
Right.
But yet they just kind of feel like this is home, or it's that setting that's comfortable. So, but I think that one is crucial.
Children's team.
Gotta have a children's team.
So nursery and children's.
We use the hospitality. So I know, like at Church on the Rock, you've got coffee bar, those expressions, cafe, right? And so, but you've got to have the right people in there that just know how to serve and love people well, and it's not about the team, it's about who they get to touch in the sense of reach.
I mean, even in hospitality, it's creating an opportunity for people to pause and connect to each other. I mean, everything goes around that mission, but hospitality.
For us, it's really crucial because our services are about an hour, but most of the time, it's amazing to us that people will stay for that connection time. If you've got people who understand the hospitality, sometimes that hospitality are just people who can talk with other people.
Right.
So they're comfortable with that. They love that part of it.
We
would also say a communications team.
Yeah.
So we're deeply committed to seeing others in the body raised up, grow up, and learn, how, especially when there's skill and gifting.
You're talking about the preaching of the word and that communication.
That's a team.
We call
That's
it
a team.
communication.
That is a
we
vital
do it
team.
by a team instead of a lead pastor that carries that load every week.
Right.
And mainly because in our context, most pastors are bivocational.
Yeah.
And so to carry that weekly communication, to hit a good sermon every week, they physically don't have the time to study and to be able to put that together. But doing it by team, it spreads it out, and you're able to carry a load, and nobody burns out. Everybody, it lives in a healthy way. That's the goal.
Yeah. I would say another team is absolutely prayer.
Prayer team?
Yeah,
Prayer
just
team,
finding people that are moved in that direction as, they are intercessors. They have a heart to just pray for people, especially when it comes to need situations where you've got people in the church, but they can draw others to that. So that's one that develops. We really like that one because you really like everybody to be on that at some point where
Everyone can serve on the prayer team.
Absolutely. Even if even if they're the newest believer,
Right.
Yeah.
just come in and be with others who are praying.
And when they take part in that team, you mentioned it earlier, Bob, I think there's a discipleship element that happens. They're learning by watching others.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And living out together.
And I would even say with that just the care and responsibility for each other's faith.
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense of how how are you doing?
Yeah.
Are we finding that there's growth and even meeting together pretty consistently? For us, a cafe is really a good spot. But just get some coffee, get some nice tea. Let's sit and let's just talk about our faith journey.
How do you find a good leader for a team? Talk about that for just a second.
Yeah, I really do think that it's the one that rises up, that is willing, to take the responsibility of communication and nurturing and care. So there's the administrative part, but there's because you're looking at two sides. You're looking at really caring for team members, so as you're developing that one, as well as the task that team has, because that's valid, that they hit and excel at their task and continue to grow and in that.
Yeah.
So someone that actually has that ability to be able to nurture others in faith and to welcome new ones in, have that vision and that peace, but also the skill of being able to see, hey, how are we going to continue to grow? Not that I have to have it all, but how are we continuing to grow forward?
Yeah, and I think also just the sense that they will have to see there are others in this group that will be team leaders.
Yeah.
Maybe not just here, but maybe in other places, but where they're identifying. And that's not an easy thing to do. That most of the time that has to be developed, where you're not just looking at what my job is. Who else here has those skills and areas where they may have places to serve?
I'm going to shift gears with you guys just a little bit, because this thought came into my mind because I've had to deal with this before. What happens, or how did we prevent teams becoming competitive with one another? I've had situations where some teams feel like they're doing the most important job and they're kind of the elite, and it causes problems. Have y'all seen that? How do we prevent that? What do we do?
Yeah. Well, I would say I think one of the things that we've done to just make sure as little of that happens is that we just constantly talk about when we meet together, either before a service, when we're praying together as ministry teams, just how significant every team is.
Yeah.
And you just keep building that every team. It's kind of like, when we get to Corinthians, what about the body and some things we don't see, but yet they are super important.
Very important.
Right. And so, like a lot of times, kids ministry teams and leaders, they're not with everything else that's going on, but yet it's such a powerful part of what's happening and taking place. So you have to pay attention to that part of it.
Yeah.
We just find that if we keep pressing that with all the teams, we're all important in what God's wanting to do here and through us.
Yeah.
And the mission of, man, when we see people come and respond to Jesus and begin to grow in discipleship, that's everybody's win. When families are coming and their lives are being changed, that's everyone's win to do that. And so how we all are able to see that way. But if we're actually, I think, looking forward where we're welcoming others, we're always looking to invite others onto the team, not just to get like a dream team that, man, we're the ace, we're the A team, and then there's CB teams.
Yeah,
no,
we don't.
When we see that our role is actually continuing to help others come onto our team. Maybe this is a first step to another place that God is pulling out and growing out of them, but we're welcoming them on. When we're doing that, then your team wins, my team wins. It's because it's not just me. So
that's so good.
That piece of it.
Recruiting team members, it has to be kind of done on a personal level.
Exactly.
The old days of the pastor standing up in the pulpit and saying,
not gonna happen.
That doesn't
That's a
work.
terrible idea.
There's one thing that when we were starting at our last church plant, I really do believe God has a place for every person to serve.
Amen.
Every single person, there's a place.
Yeah.
We have this one young man. He's 50 years old. This one man, he's 50 years old. He has a blood disease, has always had it. He's nonverbal. He can't use his hands. The only thing he can do is with his feet, he uses his toes and he types on an iPad, and that's how he communicates, okay? Wow. He's a painter. He paints with his feet. He's a famous painter in Estonia. And he actually works for a big bank in the media department doing graphics. Okay, and I was praying, man, God, where in the church does he serve? He's nonverbal. He's all these limitations, but where does he serve? If we really believe that it's a principle that God does that, where does he serve? And he was able to join in with our media team and begin to help to do the graphics and put together our screens. He pulls in his friends that he's been winning to Christ. Okay, so who's around him? Other people that with special needs. One guy named Ate was his friend from childhood. Ate is quadriplegic. He can only, from the neck down, he can't move anything. But he's verbal, but he uses his eyes to do the computer. And those two guys together are working in the media.
Wow.
And Ate's never been able to come to church because of his situation, but he watches online and he serves. He's found a place to connect. Man, it gives purpose. It's God's kingdom. That's what, and it's like, man, when you start seeing that, you realize, man, when we are serving together, that's the community, because we live out faith in community.
That's right.
That's it.
That's
that
right.
Is it.
Man, stories like that
Yeah.
Just amaze me. It's amazing how God will find a way for every member of the body
Exactly.
to make a contribution. That is
That's
so
the
great.
powerful part.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, guys, thank you so much. I feel like we're just barely getting started. We could spend all day talking.
Yeah, we could.
But your perspective on building teams and how important it is, and even though the cultures may be different, teams are something that's needed in every church, in every situation. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to just tell you what people that are watching today, hopefully these E3 podcasts are helpful for you and maybe stimulate your brain and you have some new thoughts. And I want to encourage you to subscribe and to watch us. You can go to the Church on the Rock website, or you can go to YouTube and just look up E3. And we have various podcasts there. And we would love for you to be a part of E3. If you're a pastor, a business leader, you'd like to know more about E3, contact me, Jackie White. You can reach me at Church on the Rock Lubbock. They'll find me, and I'd be happy to spend some time with you and just talk about how you might fit in the E3 network. Thank you for being here today.